Oh my goodness. Very, very interesting, but isn't it always? So you have the bat here for your animal energy. So let's talk about this. This is very fascinating. You know, this equates to the death key in the tarot, right? Which is about endings and new beginnings, things coming to natural endings or points of completion so that something new can begin and emerge, right? It's that cycle of life situation. You know, bat energy is very, very powerful, especially within shamanic practices, because we can tap into bat energy in order to see more clearly and have better facility around all of our senses, right? As humans, we can become very hyper-focused and just kind of like, you know, tunnel vision is what I'm seeing. But bat allows us with this medicine influence to sort of open up and have the benefit of all of our senses. How do we feel about things, right? What are we sensing? Does it smell right? I'm hearing that. Like, does it smell good? I'm seeing that scene in I think it's just the movie reference with you guys today, but I'm here for it. When Gandalf is you know, in the mines of Moria and he's trying to figure out which way to go with, you know, the fellowship, and he goes, "Oh, I remember it's this way." And he's like, "Oh, you remembered?" He's like, "No, but the smell is less foul down here." And so it's about like what smells right, what feels right. Also, there's this aspect of the bat energy, right, with the nocturnal sense, which is interesting. That we were seeing the eels, kind of a stormy sea with the light, and then the firefly with the light and the dark, right? Because fireflies obviously are, you know, nighttime creatures. So it's interesting with the light and the dark here as well. You know, lastly, bat energy is very much about knowing that the aspects of yourself, right? Because think about the bat as an animal in most cultures, really. You know, there's a certain sense of like, ugh, or like, oh, is it Halloween? This is associated with bat energy. So I feel like this is also, you know, calling you to look at the aspects of yourself that you may not bring to the forefront or lead with on a regular basis because they may not fit within the status quo that you are participating in some way, shape, or form, whether that's in your personal life, your work sphere. You know, for example, you may have an aspect of your life that you keep sort of sectioned off and private or separate from, you know, your work or vice versa, or whatever that is. And so I feel like there's an emphasis on whatever that aspect of yourself or part of your life is for the first half of this month, which is really interesting, especially as we're coming in to the new moon time, which is, you know, I feel like that is a new moon, which is really interesting as well. So beginnings, endings, light, dark, energy, stasis, all of those beautiful dichotomies. So let's go ahead and see what is going on for the first half of June. First half of June. Oh, interesting indeed. 6 of Cups. Wow, wow, wow. So this is really interesting. So I'm first drawn to the 2 kids here, and I saw the 2 eels, right? And we were talking about what? Masculine and feminine energy. So this is very, very, I love that this is mirroring that in this way, because this is a very sweet way to mirror that energy. Also, we are looking at the 6th month of the year, and then we have the 6 of Cups here. So we're getting into summertime in the Northern Hemisphere, right? We're moving towards Litho. We're moving towards the time of year where it's all about the emotions, right? Water energy. So it's interesting here with the 6 of Cups as well, because this speaks of the past. This speaks of nostalgia, but this also speaks of, which is really interesting how it's lining up with the bat energy, this speaks of the aspects of ourselves that were either born to us, like we came into this lifetime with these inherent talents or interests, but it also speaks of what did we do as children where the time just absolutely flew? Because I will tell you, so many times we are born into these bodies with what our soul purpose is, like right there in front of our faces in terms of our interests, right? Like for me personally, I was always drawn to, like, you know, the spirit and ghosts and ghouls and psychics and you know, Sarah McLachlan and all that kind of like energy. And then, you know, you life works on you and you know, go do this and you know, how am I going to make all that? But there's this real call to the aspect of you, I feel like asking you, like, what do you really love? And how much of your energy are you focusing on that? that feels like rather the point is what that feels like, Capricorn. What do you love and how much time, how are you focusing on that? Fascinating. 8 of Swords. Fascinating. Do you see how she has that blindfold on? Right? 8 of Swords. Traditionally speaking, this is very much about restricted vision. It's fascinating that this woman is standing and it's daytime, but she's got the blindfold on. So to her, it's nighttime. Again, day and night, right? Light and dark, masculine, feminine. It's fascinating here. Like the true dichotomy of it all. You know, 8 of Swords is also very much about being in a certain, entrapped mindset that only you can free yourself from. The cure to an 8 of Swords moment or energy is a shift in perspective. That is what it is, which is, I'm really feeling that because with the kids here, if you think about the perspective of a child, right, especially around this age, right, the perspective of a child is as it should be, right? What's going on right now? What is right in front of me? What does this flower smell like? What does it feel like? How many flowers are there? If I tip this cup over, what will happen to the flowers? Oh, they fall on the ground. Well, what if I piled them all up on top of each other? And then what if I ran my hand in that water? And then, right, that is kid energy. It's like a complete mastery of the present moment, right? The perspective is the present moment with this 6 of Cups. Then we've got the 8 of Swords. These could not be 2 more opposite energies, right? So it's focus on what's going on in front of you in the now moment and then restricted vision. I feel like you are being called to redirect your focus. She's also like standing at this body of water here as well, right? So it's very watery mind palace situation, but I feel like you're being called here to really consider, again, not just where your focus is, but what do you love, how and in what ways you are putting your energy into what you love, but also getting a very clear view on what is going on in your situation and in your given circumstances. What is working for you and what is not? What is working and what is not? And this can be as simple or as complicated as you let it, right? This can be approached in a very simplistic way where it's like, okay, what do I feel happy spending my time doing? And what do I dread? What feels like obligation? What feels like, a pleasure, right? And really sort of taking account of those things. Because with this bat energy, with the ending and beginning, I feel like there are things in your atmosphere that want to be shifted or altered in your energy. There feels like there is something coming towards you because I'm getting drawn back to that firefly, right? But it was enclosed in a jar. It wasn't able to be released, right? It was literally a firefly in prison, right? Which is really interesting given the greater context of this. It feels like there's either an idea or a dream or a knowing that is being called for you to first take the blindfold off and see it and acknowledge it. I feel like for some of you guys, it's like, yeah, I know what that is. I just like, I've just been too busy over here. I just haven't wanted to do that, or I have fear around it. You're being called to first acknowledge what aspect of yourself is being kept, what in you in terms of a source of inspiration, right? Because the wands, because again, Firefly, 8 of Wands, the wands rule the realm of the actions that we do or do not take, usually around the work that we love to do or our interpersonal relationships that, inspire us and that we're passionate about. So if in terms of this firefly being kept in a jar, what aspects of yourself that you are truly passionate about, whether it is the work that you do or your relationships or your soul purpose or whatever that is, what aspects of those things are being inhibited, right? Or constrained or restricted or not allowed to really come out and play or breathe, right? I'm seeing the image of a fish who only grows as big as its fish tank, right? Is it a bigger tank? Right? Do we introduce a bigger tank or do we swap out the fish? There's something in that for you. Now you have Queen of Pentacles in reverse here. So interesting. And I'll get to why this is commenting on the 8 of Swords so beautifully. So Queen of Pentacles in the upright. She is so rich. And here's why. She's not rich because she has a lot of gold and treasures and all of that, which she does, but that's not what makes her wealthy. What makes her wealthy or rich is that everywhere she looks, she sees gold. Everywhere she looks, she sees something to be grateful for, which makes her the gratitude queen. She's all about gratitude, right? Remember what I said about how the cure to the Eight of Swords is a shift in perspective? Can I tell you that the most surefire way to shift one's perspective is through gratitude? It is so true. It's kind of a cliche, but like for a very good reason. Gratitude, I can tell you personally, has moved me out of like more chapters in my life where I've been really static or really frozen or just really kind of holding myself, blocking myself off from a lot of good that wanted to come my way. And then finding even small ways to shift to a perspective of gratitude. I'm telling you, it is the equivalent of standing on dry land next to the water and then allowing this, to jump fully in the water and just swim freely. It really makes a huge difference. So the fact that the Queen of Pentacles is in the reverse for you, I feel like this is this is very much speaking of a need for a shift in perspective, right? I feel like for you guys as well, because we're looking at, the bat, which is death energy, endings, beginnings, focus on the present moment, masculine, feminine, giving, receiving, that dichotomy, and then restricted vision, and then a needed shift in perspective or focus. I feel like there's this overall aspect for you where I feel like I'm looking at a sort of like a quarry, right? And I feel like there are these, these stone blocks that just want to be moved so that the river can just like flow through. And I feel like that's what we're looking at here. What is blocking that river from flowing more freely, whatever that is for you, right? Really interesting. But I really want to get some advice. I'm very, very keen to get advice for you guys for sure. We're talking about a shift in perspective and all of that good stuff and going, what do you love and how much energy are you giving to it? Oh my goodness gracious. It's so good. Okay. So your advice is Seven of Wands. Fascinating. We've been talking about wands, right? Remember the firefly equates to the Eight of Wands. And we have Seven of Wands here as your advice. So Seven of Wands, I always hear that John Mayer song, Bigger Than My Body Gives Me Credit For, whenever I pull this key. And I feel like it's so true because Seven of Wands is very much about knowing that you have obstacles, right? But that you will surmount them with persistence and effort and patience and faith. That is Seven of Wands. You got some mountains to climb, but that's okay because you got your climbing boots. That's what this is. I'm actually hearing lyrics from another song called Worry No More. I just got shivers. The song Worry No More by Amos Lee. I'm hearing for you guys. There is these lyrics that say, keep climbing, keep climbing, keep climbing, worry no more. That's what that whole thing, it feels like your advice is Worry No More by Amos Lee. So it's a beautiful song if you want to give it a listen to get you into that, energy for the first half of June. This is very much about putting one foot in front of the other and knowing that you got this. But it's interesting because this is Seven of Wands. We're talking about Eight of Wands. We have Eight of Swords here. We're talking about Eight of Wands, which is an upward movement and ascension. And then we were seeing that firefly trapped in a glass bottle. So you are in between the Seven and the Eight of Wands right now, which is another way of saying you are in between putting in some effort, right? Making some edits and changes and shifting one's perspective to literally be broken free out of that, glass jar and flying straight ahead through to the Eight of Wands, upward movement, ascension, progress, a lot of good, fast energy, right? It's interesting here as well that we're looking at the Queen of Pentacles who's in her lush garden and is so, she's got it all going on. Everything is ripe and in bloom. In the reverse. And then we have the Seven of Wands, which is like someone has clearly raided this garden and eaten all the good stuff and just left it kind of rotting as well. I'm just hearing to keep moving forward that there's this aspect of like your perseverance is going to pay off. In order to help you get to the other side of this, it's about a shift of perspective, steeping into that gratitude of what is working, and knowing that everything that you desire, your happiness, your fulfillment, you living out your life's purpose, your financial abundance, your relationship abundance, whatever that is on the other side of you being willing to take a look at your given circumstances and being willing, like the bat energy, to make shifts and edits as needed, right? Let's go ahead and get an oracle for you. I'm feeling like the Cletbaron read. Let's do this one. Oracle for the Capricorns. Oh my God, stop. It's so good. So we have the eyes of beauty, positive expectations and clarity. Hello and goodbye. And we were talking about this already. Also, it's the number 25. 5 + 2 is 7, which is your advice, the 7 of Wands. Keep climbing, keep climbing, keep climbing. So, right. The eyes of beauty, positive expectations and clarity. Is she not in a garden? And we're seeing this garden reversed and this garden up here and the kids in the, it's amazing, right? You know, I'm hearing that for you guys as well. With this shift in perspective and with the positive expectations and clarity, I feel like it usually goes without saying, but I'm going to say it. Nature. I'm telling you, that is the great, back to your meditation as well. Remember, we were talking about grounding yourself, you know, removing the electricity, removing yourself from those currents, and grounding yourself within nature, within that environment. I feel like that's a little tongue-in-cheek message for you as well from spirit, because all of this nature here and saying like a lot of this can be accomplished through literally separating yourself from technology, even if just for a couple of hours or whatever. And just allowing yourself to be in a quiet space with your feet on the earth, taking a walk or just outside of those currents, because you have a lot of energy around you right now. It's building, it's building, it's building. And you're being asked to just sort of like step outside of that, get a larger but clear view of what's going on and what could be, and then move from there. But there's a lot of energy. Look at this. Hello, please come here. Look at this skunk. Like these 7 of Wands are being aimed at this skunk, which is, by the way, the tail is up about to like spray in a defensive position, right? So I'm hearing to really just like separate yourself, positive expectations and clarity, positive expectations. We were talking about being in between the 7 and the 8 of Wands. It is coming to you. It's just about allowing yourself to step into that gratitude energy, and in doing so, have greater clarity around your situation and whatever shifts and edits need or want to be made within your highest and best good, so that you can, most of all, more than anything, enjoy your life. Because truly, that is what it's all about. If you are enjoying your life, then you are fulfilling your soul purpose in some way, shape, or form. That is the T. It's about how are you feeling? Are you enjoying your life? That's what it is. Because there are people who have all the money in the world, have great families, have all of the, you know, ABC, XYZ that people say, oh, like that's a good life. But within that life, they're absolutely miserable, right? And then there are other people who have very little, right? But they're quite happy. Right? That gauge is really about how you feel, and are you enjoying yourself? Are you these kids with these cups of flowers, right? Are you closer? Where are you in these two, right? How close are you to 6 of Cups, or what do you do when you are in the 6 of Cups energy here, like these kids? And what do you do when you're in the 8 of Swords? Start observing that within for yourself during this time, and allow that energy of the moon to kind of bring you to greater clarity and those aspects that may not be so highly visible to you, or maybe you don't look at as often, right? It's not always glaringly obvious. Sometimes it takes some, you know, discerning effort in order to be willing to see.